awesome Sunday morning. It's so good to see all these faces. WOW is back in action. When we come back on a Tuesday, I don't know when you're coming back, but I think it's a Tuesday, we will be in a new place, okay? Thanks to Shanta. Shanta, thank you very much for organizing it. It's going to be awesome. And so make sure that you're in touch with your home coaches, and they're going to give you all the details so that you're there. It's very, very central. It's perfect. You'd love it. It's big. It will leave room for growth, okay? And that's the whole idea. Why we are looking for a bigger place is because we want to get back. You remember the time when we had BMICH, the whole room is packed, people are standing. Yeah, we want to get back to that. We're just 1/3 the crowd that we were in BMICH at that point of time. We want to get those guys back. Where the heck are they? The second thing is we want to grow, okay? And that's the idea. And you all have a role in that. And so that's why I want to talk today. Just before I leave, I just want to remind you of who you are, WOW. And I want to remind you that we are a people who are sold out. That's the first word that you understand, sold out. You know, when people come to WOW, they say the buy-in is massive, the buy-in, okay? And that's something that's, even the least, if there's such thing as the least of us, if there's such thing as that, the buy-in is massive. Everyone has given their heart, soul, their life, and all. And that is what's so important to understand the difference between us and another church. And that's why Fiona spoke about everything when she started off. She said, no matter what age you are, it's not the age. The buy-in here is massive. The commitment is massive. You'll have committed yourselves your whole life to this culture. And that's what makes WOW different. I don't want anything else. And when I talk about aunties coming and gossiping and saying things, I'm talking of those, nothing to do with age. It's to do with people who come and sit on the peripheries of a church. You get this in every type of church except for this one. And then they're gossiping and gossiping and gossiping, and every testimony and every message is talked about at home, at dinner tables, this and that, and about the people's lives and their characters. Come on, have you been in a church like that before? Yeah? Yes, okay. Yeah, and they're talking about, the testimony, but so-and-so says this, but he's still smoking, or so-and-so said this, but do you see him at that party? He had a couple of drinks. All this kind of stuff, and all this gossip starts happening, and the guy playing the piano, and the girl doing the drums, or you know about her. Do you know about her? She was married to so-and-so, and she was going, no. We don't want that here. We don't do that here, okay? We're a family. We're sold out for each other. We're ready to die for each other, and that's what matters, you see? And then that's what if you want to say, that's what I elicit and solicit, and it's what I get from my people. I get loyal people because I'm very loyal. Okay, that's one thing no one can doubt this. You can go back to my oldest friends. Do you know the amount of people I know in Colombo, and that I don't have to meet every day, that I can just go one phone call, meet them after 10 years, and they still stand by me? You'll be surprised. Yeah, you think people are against me. You'll be surprised. You'll be very surprised of the people that are with me. Yeah, you'll be very surprised, yeah. That's why we don't go down. Because you might not see their faces here, but it's one phone call away. Yeah. People who don't come to WOW, one phone call away. Because I have some of the most loyal friends in the world. In this place, some of the most loyal people. But outside this place, who you don't see their faces, some of the most loyal people who will die for me even up to date. Because the reason is, because when I made friends, I didn't know any other better way to make friends. All I knew is the best way I can do for someone, I had no money, I had no reputation, I had nothing to give of my own but my life. But my life. And at every point of time, I would try my best to lay my life down for my friends. At any point of time, there'll be 50 against 1, and I'll say, I'll die for you today. You see, you'll be at a match, there'll be 100 against 2 people, and I'll be the first one in, getting beaten up, broken ribs, taken to hospital, just because I stood up against 50 people. And I said, well, are you crazy? There were 50 people, and you jumped in? I said, exactly. And they'll always tell you, all my friends, they'll tell you, I never ran away. I will risk my life at every point of time, and I can die for the least on the road. The guy out there, the big on the road, I will die for him without any problem. Without any problem. 2 nights ago, I sat with Ryan and Tammy. I asked them a very pertinent question. I said, Ryan and Tammy, do you know that I'll die for you? They did that, yeah, individually to both, yeah. I said, do you know that I would die for you? That's the truth. I said, from the beginning of time up to now, my life is laid down. If there's any point a gun is put on my head for both of them, I would die for them. I said, do you know what we're called for? We're called to lay our lives down for people. I said, would you die for me? And without a blinking or batting of an eye, Tammy and Brian said, for sure, Kirby, 100% sure. We love you. I said, have you walked me? How long have you walked me? I said, 15, 16 years. I said, much longer than friends, but 15, 16 years in God as a shepherd and as leaders. I said, how long have you walked with me? It's 15 years. And she said, okay, 15 years. I said, would you die for me? Would you trust me? She said, 100%, Kirby. We trust you with our lives. We'll die for you. You know, those things matter. It matters to people to know that there are people who love them enough. But it transcends just love of loyalty and individuality. It transcends all that. Because you need a people. You need to be able to, someone had to die for you to be able to love like that. And that's where Jesus comes into the picture. You understand that? That's where Jesus comes into the picture. Someone had to die for you, and you had to know that and believe in that with all your heart so that you can love like that. It's unconditional. You understand it? And so I told Ryan and Tammy, I said, what we do here is laying our life down. And I said, the journey is just going to get much better. But our commitment, our buy-in to this have to be much greater than ever before from now onwards. Wow. You understand it? Because I'm looking, you see, for me to grow is the easiest thing to do. For me to earn money, easy, very easy. To me to grow, very easy. For me to grow is very easy. Huh? If you are this size now, it's just a determined purpose. I don't want to grow with periphery groups. I don't want to grow with disengaged people. I don't want to grow when I walk into a place and I have no connection with the people. Believe me, when you have 1,000, I can have a connection with 1,000. And that connection I can have with 1,000 is through you. It's through you. If you understand my heart, you'll understand what you need to do with the rest coming. You understand it? For us to grow is very easy, but to grow right is what's important. You got it? I don't want to have an event on a Tuesday and Sunday and some guy comes to see some show. I want to have a real, solid community. Okay? And it takes something for that. And I want to talk about this. I want to talk about a community grace, or what someone would call community flow. And this is just sort of rounding up the neuroscience of grace. Are you ready for it? Yeah? And after that, I want to bring the dream team in for them to prophesy. Okay? Now remember, the dream team is a reason. There's a reason for dream team. We're just modeling this in a wonderful way. Very soon we're going to have dream team, and we're going to have Gayanta gave a phenomenal idea, and that's really how it's done with a lot of sort of CIA initiatives, where they have the dreamers and then you have the interpreters, the managers. Okay, and so we're going to have they're going to separate that. We'll have the dreamers and we'll have the managers who will know how to interpret the dreams. So the dreams come in and then it's interpreted. So that's what I want to work on when I come back. So we'll be a very effective and efficient sort of agency that hears for people. Okay, this thing gets very, very interesting. Believe me, I know how to do it. Now, let's go. So now, before they come up, and when they come up, I want you to encourage them. Because that's what it's about. I can sit here and prophesy to you every single day, but I don't want to do that. Okay? My nights are very busy. Believe me when I tell you, when people ask, how is your night? It's like a very strange question. That means you don't know me. Okay? Because my nights are very, very busy, and I can start prophesying from wherever I want. But I want them to prophesy, because then it's one of you. You get it? Okay, and we're going to change this dream team. You will see that it'll rotate. So make sure when they come up that you cheer them and you give them your best, and that you align. If you know it's you, if you're feeling it's you, raise your hand. Okay, you don't have to talk later on. You can get prayed for. Okay, are you ready for the word? Yes. Okay, I want to start this from the beginning of the book of Acts. And so we're going to go over 4 chapters. And in 4 chapters, I'm going to show you this very strange community, a cult, a Jewish cult, really, that started off 2,100 years ago, or a little more, okay? It was a sect of Jews who had suddenly diverted in the way they believed. This sect, and they kept calling them this cult, or they call it the word sect is the same thing, this sect. And this sect suddenly became bigger and bigger and bigger, more influential and more influential and more influential. And suddenly, what started happening was very influential people who became something, who's going to become somebody, started coming in. Okay? And finally, this sect started influencing the world, the Roman Empire, in such a way that the emperor, Constantine, of the Roman Empire, he became, through a prophetic dreaming word, like how you hear, through a prophetic, supernatural dreaming word, he became, because his advisors were now the people of this Jewish sect. And the Jews, the mainline Jews, who were authentically Jewish, now had a problem with this cult that was forming, and so they were very upset, and so they tried to close it down. But these guys, somehow, they had people who had bought in, and I'll show you the buy-in, okay? And because they had bought in such a way, the emperor of the world at that point in time, Constantine, he had a dream and a vision of a war, and he understood that Jesus Christ is Lord. And suddenly, this obscure Jewish sect became the foremost, authentic, spiritual institution in the world. That was the beginning of Christianity. You got it? The beginning of Christianity. And that's how it started. And I want to show you a few very, very solid milestones, impressions that made this group very, very powerful. That, believe me when I tell you, we are not a sect. We are not a cult. We are now Christians. You understand that? But how Christianity started off with something that it does not have today. And that is why people are leaving the churches, you see? And that is why the main lines are against new Christian groups like us, because we are not doing what the main lines are doing. Because what we are seeing in the main lines is we are seeing the hypocrisy in the main lines. We are seeing the hypocrisy of the traditions. We see the institutionalization of the traditional Christian move. And because of that, we are calling it out, unafraid and unashamed. Do you think that I don't know what can happen to me when I started saying stuff like this? Hello? Yeah, it takes grit and guts and investment to be able to stand for what you believe. Did you understand that? Do you think I was taken by surprise when people started coming up against me and aligning themselves against us? It doesn't take me by surprise. I know what is not true will not last. And I know that the only way to stand against untruth is to stand in your truth with a pure conscience and serve people with a sacrifice and knowing the cost. And believe me, mountains will move. Mountains will move and have moved, okay? We are still unsinged and come through the fire, okay? Unbroken, stronger, bigger, better, richer, and faster. How did that happen? It happened because of certain elements that I want to show you that you need to harvest, and I'm going to define the elements for you. So when I define it for you, you will know how to harvest that for you to grow into a powerful new move in Christianity, and you will make a mark in history saying there was a group called WOW, and they brought the doctrines that were essential, and they took us back home, and they broke away the hypocrisy of institutionalization, and Jesus Christ was revealed again in his true glory. Okay? And that's our purpose. Okay? Now, to do that, I want to talk about, I'm going to talk from chapter 1 to chapter 4, Acts. Is that okay? Yeah? And this is how we first started. Remember the Jewish guys, everyone thought they were Jewish, but suddenly they started believing in a different way. Okay? So Acts chapter 1 to chapter 4. Now, this is what is important is to understand, as I go, if you have a Bible, I want you to mark it down, and I want you to see this. I'm going to sort of reverse engineer it, because I'm going to start from chapter 4, okay, and then go maybe 7 pit stops down. Is that okay? Yeah? So here's a situation in chapter 4 where Peter and the whole group are about to be arrested. Okay? Now, they're having severe problems, okay? Because at that time, the Jewish main line is now going for them in a way that they're in serious trouble, okay? And it all started over a sign and a wonder, okay? And the sign and a wonder was that there was a guy who was sitting at the temple constantly and continuously, and everyone knew that he was crippled. And Peter, I think Peter and John go up to the temple to pray. Okay, they're doing the Jewish traditions like anyone else. They're not like separating them. They're saying, hey, we're Jews like you. And they go to the temple to pray, and this guy gets healed because they had the boldness to do it. And then what happened was, this guy who got healed is taken and questioned so that he can bring discredit to the group. Okay, all right. So it's a sign and wonder. Cost a bit of a wave in the country. Okay, and then people are questioning, how is it possible? How is it possible? How is it possible? Okay, that means they're getting all the news. Okay, all the news, all the dinner tables, all the gossip is about them now. Okay, and now when this is happening, they go one step further and try to arrest them and put them in prison, and they were taken, they were beaten up, all this kind of stuff. And at that point of time, something really interesting happens, and they pray to God in a certain way. And I remember so well when this stuff was happening to me. I remember praying in the same way, and it's a prayer that I've always said, and it's a really interesting prayer. So I'm going to read a bit of the prayer as well. Okay, is that okay? Okay, and so they all pray together. Okay, so they were let go. They were out, and so in chapter 4, verse 23, it says, "And being let go, they went to their own companions, okay, and reported all that the chief priests and the elders had said to them." You see there? Chapter 4, verse 23? Okay? So you see that reported all? You see the transparency in a group? You see the leaders? There's no hiding when they're in trouble, when they get persecuted, when something goes wrong, when someone is doing something. They don't not talk about it. You see, they reported 50%? Or they reported all? Yeah. Okay. So I report all to you. Okay, I make sure that you all know exactly what is going on, what's happening, how it's going. Okay, why do I report all? In relationships, certain relationships don't go well, especially with wives and husbands, is because the husband thinks that he needs to take the load of the weight. You see, and so he never tells the wife. He says, "No, you don't, work stuff you don't need to know because I'll sort the money out." And he never tells the wife all this, and then they come to me, and then he got the world on his shoulder. Because he doesn't know the simplest form of group flow, group grace. Group flow, if you want to get into power in an organization, you don't keep things to yourself. You need to share the load. You see, if I'm getting persecuted, I will tell you. Why? Because once you know, you share the load. If you can't afford to share the load, you do not have the right to relate with me. You got it? Think about your companies. If you can't tell them about the financial problem, okay, or the fact that some guy has not paid you, okay, this is where companies sink. And then the bottom management doesn't know that so-and-so, the client, had left with someone else. And so they try to hide it from the bottom management. And what happens is someone finds out. Or things get delayed. There's confusion. You see? And because of that, there cannot be this flow, this grace coming on them because they don't report it down. And it's just simple pride. The husband doesn't tell his wife because of pride. He says, he takes it personally. He thinks, this is my responsibility, without telling the other person. You see? And when that happens, I'm teaching you how to get into a state of grace that you're already in, but I'm showing you the dynamics of what you're in for you to value it, and I'm defining it for you from a neuroscientific background and a psychological background. Because, when I sit with these guys in Flow Research Collective, and they start teaching me, they tick the boxes, like da-da-da-da-da-da. And believe me, we have in this church, and individually, from Fiona and myself as well, every aspect for us to be in the grace that we are in. Okay, how do things work out for Kirby? How does the grace come on him like that? How does it grow from 1 to 500 just like that? How does his finances just come in constantly? How does every business deal work out? Think about it, okay? There's a reason for it, and I'm giving you the dynamics of those reasons now, sort of psychologically and scientifically. Is that okay? Yeah? So we're going to reverse engineer, we're going backwards. Now, so they reported everything to these guys, and then they prayed in a certain way, which is really nice. And in verse 28 it says, to do whatever your hands, so they're praying to God and say, do whatever your hands and your purpose determines before to be done. Now, Lord, look on their threats. Is it there? I always say, when there was a reproach in my life, Okay? I always told God, I said, God, because of the reproach, the Lord told me, I will approach. Think about that. Without consequences, you have no grace. If you are trying to get into any organization, but you're not ready to share the risk, there is no grace. There is a risk on your reputation. Of course, there's a risk on your reputation. There is a risk on who you are. There is a risk. And if you're not ready for that risk, then, believe me, you will not buy into anything. Forget about wow. You will not buy into anything. But if you buy in, then you're buying into the grace that is afforded by God to that place. Because I'll tell you one thing. God is the father of the fatherless. When a man is looking for a father, and people don't want to cover and father, God himself. You know why he says, he says, if someone slaps you, he said, turn another cheek? Have you heard that? Don't think that has to do with, that's just some, airy-fairy love thing. It's not. Okay? It comes from the Leviticus 19 story. If someone takes your covering, make sure you return it to him that night. Because by night, when he's called, if you have not returned his covering, remember, now this is mystical, God himself will hear his prayer for covering, and God's hand will cover him. Come on. I have gone looking for covering in my young life. There was not one willing to cover. You understand that? And people have covered and protected because people are blessed. You see, and when we offer covering, God's hand comes on those people. Because God himself says, man refused to. So guess what? I will. Always remember, the one you let go at your office, in your place of work, the guy you couldn't cover, the guy you let down and didn't protect, he's the guy who starts the company and becomes your competition. Come on. Of course. He's the same guy who leaves and suddenly you're saying, how did he get all the favor? How did he get all my clients? How did he get all that? You didn't protect and cover. When you had an opportunity, he went out and he became your strongest competition. You see story after story of companies, how it happened. They were together once and then someone broke away and went. Come on, man. Okay? And so you'll realize that that's a major, major part. A major part of this is being able to synchronize with someone else, to see their individuality in someone else. You know, I remember a time Philip came and told me, Kobe, I want to start Business Connect. You know, and at that point of time, Philip can, at any point of time, he had a nice following. He could at any point of time started his own ministry, anytime. At any time. And he said, I want to do this Business Connect, da-da-da-da-da. You know, someone else came and told me I want to do something else, or someone else told me. You see, at that point of time, I won't ever say, oh, Philip, you need to bring it under me. I say, that's really cool, Philip. You should do that. You should go out and do it. I'm not threatened. Come on. You know how this church works? Many people will call Philip or Roshit their spiritual father. They won't call me my spiritual father. Do I have a problem? Do I have a church split? I have no problem. I'm not insecure. That means you shouldn't be insecure. You see? And you should respect people for their individuality and allow them to grow in that individuality. If you do that, you will never have someone leave your company. You'll just have another department, which is awesome. You see? Because people are so isolated in the way they think, well, that doesn't go with what I was thinking. So either you fall in line, but you must understand, hey, just allow them to grow in their individuality. And as you do that, as their expression comes forth, they become a part of you. In fact, you realize your hand. You realize the finger you didn't have. You realize the foot that you didn't have. You realize the lungs that you didn't have. And it's like, oh my God, I have lungs. I can breathe now. You see? And so that's very important. Anyway, now, so as we go on, you'll realize that these guys prayed, okay? Stretch out your hand, and he says, and stretch out your hand to heal, and that signs and wonders will be done in the name of your holy servant Jesus. And when they had prayed, the place that they were assembling shook. Okay, that has really happened to us. That's really literally happened to us. Okay, and the Holy Spirit, Ramya was there at that time. And they spoke the word of God with boldness. You see the boldness? Okay, and they spoke the word of God with boldness. And listen carefully. Now, the multitude of those who believed were of one heart and one soul. Say one heart and one soul. One heart. You see, and this word one accord. Okay, the word one accord means collective flow or a group flow. Okay? Do you know that scientists today say that when there's one heart and one accord, they say, individual flow is really, the state of flow or the state of grace is really when you can hit that ball, the timing, you're bowling and the ball just gets hit. You're not even looking at the ball. How many of you played cricket? You know what I'm talking about, right? The ball comes, you can just hit it. Okay? It's timing. Okay? If you're playing music, you'll realize that at some points, you'll realize you can just play without you thinking about it. That's the state of grace, the state of flow. Okay? If you understand, if you're into poetry or comedy or talking like this, I hit a state of flow. When I'm like this, I'm in a state of grace. And then I can take this thing and then I can literally scale it up to signs and wonders and miracles, but it depends all, I'm watching something. I can start prophesying or I can start going to crazy, unbelievable miracles and signs and wonders that people can't even imagine to do, but I can do that because I'm watching something. What am I watching? Huh? Come on. You guys are quiet. But what is the flow? Where do I see the flow? Huh? Collective, yeah? On where? Where do I see it? On your faces. On your faces. I see it on your faces. You see, the glory is revealed on the faces of people. You see, I see it in your smiles. I see it in the way you're moving. I see it in the way you're engaging. I'm seeing how much you're engaging. And depending on the scale of engagement, I can take this meaning to the next level if I want to. You get it? But it depends on the engagement that you are giving me. So there is a participation that you need to do for us to get there. Okay? And so they say, scientists say, and this is the crazy thing, scientists literally say that individual flow, which is, individual flow, hitting the ball in the right place, you're playing that instrument in the right place, you're earning money, and everything is clicking, everything is ticking, everything is working out. Remember that time? Okay? The struggle is over. Okay? That time when that is happening, they say it's literally a chemical concoction. You must understand, it's literally a whole lot of chemicals, it's a whole lot of drugs in your brain. Literally, that's what it is. It's like, it's a dopamine, which is, you can laterally think. You can pattern recognize. You need dopamine to pattern recognize. You see? So there's a dopamine inside of you. There's something called oxytocin, which is all neurochemicals and neurotransmitters. There's oxytocin inside of you. There's also something called serotonin, which is like, makes you really happy. Okay? That's inside of your brain. That's kicked in. And so when all these concoctions of the chemicals come together, suddenly you can hit the ball at the right time, in the right place. You can say the right things. You can do that all happens. Okay? That's what we call a state of flow. We call it a state of grace. Everything works out. But how do you keep that place constantly? And that's what I'm talking about. And now they've realized this, that chemical dosage that comes into you, drugs really, okay? But drugs that you made on your own. You are a pharmacy, okay? And drugs that you made on your own, when you can do that, okay, they say that the higher dosage of that, and this is the crazy thing, that people really want group flow more than individual flow. Because the dosage of chemicals that you can get as an individual, they say the maximum is dopamine and adrenaline or neuroepinephrine. Okay, I can't pronounce that well, okay? That's the maximum dosage you can get. You can get dopamine, lateral thinking, okay? You're good at something, you can see patterns, and you can get what they call adrenaline, okay? And you know what adrenaline feels like, that you can do that as an individual. But if you want more drugs, this Sunday morning. If you want more drugs, more chemicals coming into you, you need to stack it with a crowd. Yes. Yes. And then, if you're with a crowd, certain things start happening because of certain reasons. Like when you have group shared goals, suddenly serotonin kicks in. Because now you're motivated in a group together, so you need serotonin that causes you to become familiar with people and get to know people. You can't work together unless you get to know people. So you know what a Roshit is like. You see, when you look at your leaders, you're like, oh, okay, Roshit flows like this. So you get used to, like what jazz players do, they start improvising, right? You see, jazz, they studied flow in jazz. And this guy, Mihai, who was the godfather of flow, had another guy studying under him. He was a jazz player. And then he said, no, you see, you're talking about individual flow, but there is another way you flow, which is in group flow. And then they studied group flow. And they studied group flow with jazz musicians, and they studied how at one point everyone starts improvising. Okay, musicians, you know what I'm saying? How does, at one point, someone is playing the same tune, but in a completely different way. How does that happen? What is the chemical mix that's happening in their brain? And they started researching thousands and thousands of this, and then they went into Comedy Central, and they studied thousands and thousands of comics on stage and how they got the crowd going. And they identified it by how much the crowd would laugh when someone says something. Okay, and then you understand all the chemicals were in, because for someone to laugh, you would have happy chemicals. You would have serotonin. Okay, and they realized that as an individual, it was not possible to scale it up. So what you're looking for is more chemicals in your bloodstream that makes you feel really good. Okay, and that you don't need exogenously, that you can do on your own, but you can never do that alone. Okay, and so they said what people are really addicted to, and what they call life and the quality of life, is when there is community flow. Come on. When there's community grace. And that's what makes someone whole and complete. And so God knew what he was doing when he set up the church and the Acts church. And so then he said when there is sort of one goal, shared goals, naturally, with the shared goals comes serotonin, because serotonin is what makes someone look at someone and know what it's like to flow like that. You're playing a trumpet in a certain way, and then someone knows how to come and improvise the same tune, but in a different way with the same beat. That's what we want, right? Roshan is different to me, but he's playing the same trumpet in the same way, in a different way. Okay? Philip is different to me. He's playing the same sort of tune, but in a completely different way. He's now got into the flow, and that you need serotonin. You can never get serotonin. Serotonin is what makes you happy. You can have dopamine, lateral thinking, and you can have adrenaline, but you will never be happy. Wow. So individual players are not happy. They're the most depressed people on the earth. Yes, till they get into communities. And then they need sort of serotonin that makes someone think, oh, Roshit is like that. If I had to walk with him, I'd walk with his sense of humor. You see, if I had to hang out with Philip, I might have to wear a cape and dress in funny clothes once in a while. And we'll stop there. It's dangerous to talk about Philip and his dress sense. Okay? And so, you see, you need to understand that. And then it causes, and that's what causes serotonin. And so there is no happiness without groups. Think about when God started the church, what he did. And then they go on, and this is so good, and they say, when there is risk involved, you have to bring risk in. If risk is not brought into a community, you still are missing some of the best neurochemicals you can ever have. So that's why it's risky to be with Kirby. It's risky because it will risk your reputation. You'll have to stand up for someone. People who don't stand up for someone are really, there's no meaning in their life. It's useless. I was telling someone at a party a couple of days ago, I said, I was talking about me and the mainline churches and the whole thing. And I said, buddy, I've got a community that I can die for. I said, the thing in my life, what brings me most amount of meaning is I try to find reasons to die for something. If you have nothing in your life to die for, then your life is useless. You're just a user. And that's the emptiness that you're feeling. You're feeling like I'm a user. I'm just using everyone around me. But when you have someone and a people that you will stand up for and you're ready to die for, you know, when I was brought up like that, I was brought up by the mafia, remember? Okay? Like Mowgli in the jungle with the bears. Okay? I was brought up in the mafia. I was 13 and a half years old. Patale. Not Patale is different, huh? It's not just a thug. Okay, it's organized. A village thug is different to Patale, if you understand how it works. I won't go into details. Anyway. Okay, so you have to understand that there was a group flow going on there. But the fact of the matter is they don't live long enough to enjoy the benefits of it. But the fact of the matter is that when you understand that there is a risk involved, that's what causes something. That's why I came to Christ. I said, man, I don't need to die for anyone anymore. Okay? Christ has died for me. Someone already died for me. And I can have the heart. I need the heart to die for you. Huh? I need to have the heart of it. But thank God, Christ did it. So I can just pray to him, and then he moves. You see? And you don't have, till you have somebody, a person, that you can lay your life down for. Okay? And a family, a group of individuals that you can lay your life down for and say, these are the people that I'm ready to die for. In Pathala, they take you one step further. They said you have to have someone to die for and someone you'll kill for. So let's not go there. Let's graduate slowly. Okay? Okay? But you see, but someone you die for is so important in life because he says that's when these guys, Csikszentmihalyi and all the neuroscientists say, when you have someone you'll die for, that's when this other hormone kicks in, and that's called oxytocin. Okay? You can't have oxytocin alone. Oxytocin is a hormone that comes in when you're ready to say, I love someone so much that I will lay my life down for them. Until you have that, you'll be depressed. You don't have that, you'll be depressed. Oxytocin is the thing says, you know what? I will lay my life down. I'll lay my values down. I'll lay what I believe down. I'll lay the things that I consider sacred down. I'm open to listen to this person. You see, till you have that in your life, my friends, till you're ready for that. And that's what Christ elicits. It's what he wants from you is your life. And that's why when Christ calls you, he doesn't call you halfway. It's a completely immersed experience, and that's the other one that triggers it. You're completely immersed in it. You can't have one foot here and one foot there. If you have that, it never happens. It's full-on concentration that takes the group into this place. We've got one goal, we have shared goals, and what is our shared goal? Our shared goal is that we want to tell people about Jesus and how much he loves us, and we want to do it in an intelligent and scientific way. You understand? And that's what WOW is about. We like to tell people in a practical, scientific way that spirituality is real. And these things can be proven. And that's why we're studying to do that. You get it? That's the idea. That's why WOW is different. Why is WOW different? Because the way we illuminate the word. We illuminate the word in practical ways that other people don't. But it's still the word. We're not diverting from the word. And it's still Jesus. And we want to tell the world about Jesus Christ. And that's what we have, shared goals. And we are fully immersed in these shared goals. We've not got one foot here and one foot there. The buy-in is tremendous, okay? And then he goes on to say, look at this, okay? And here's the word. Now the multitude of those who believed were one heart. Is it there? One soul. Say one heart and one soul.
One heart and one soul.
You see? I like this one. And what they possessed, and they called their own, and where read it here? Here it is. Multitude of believed were one heart, one soul. Neither did anyone say that any of the things he possessed was his own. But they all had all things in common. I love that. You see what leadership looks like. You see, have I ever said, you need to give this and you need to give that? How do you think all these things work? On screens, you know how much those things cost? Okay? Have I reduced and stinged on you and said, let's have only one screen? Do you know how many times one screen has been proposed to me? Do you know how many times one screen has been proposed to me? Let's have one screen. It's expensive. No, why do you have, what is one? Let's have one screen, will you? Like another church, they have only one screen. No, I said, no, you get to a place where we'll have 5 screens or 4 screens. Have I asked you to pay for the screens? Do you know how much this cost me? Do you know how much other places is going to cost me? Okay. Because I believe it's yours. What I earn, my businesses support this ministry. And the leaders' businesses support this ministry. Okay. The leaders are doing exactly that. You go to any other church, and then you get gold card for sowing this, silver card for sowing this membership for sowing that, this membership for sowing this, and all the marketing gimmicks in the world. Okay? This church will not do that. I call people as partners in this church. I promise you, you come in this church, your business will get blessed. When your business gets blessed, make sure that you support God's heart. That's the longest compulsion you're going to have from me. Okay? Because don't worry, if you don't give, I'm a blessed man. And I do this because I love doing this. If there's 50 people in this room, I'll preach in the same way. I'll stop for the one, and I'll preach to 1,000. You understand it? I'm a guy who will preach to 50,000 people sitting in one go. Sorry, 100,000 people sitting in one go. You understand that? So it doesn't faze me what happens because I'm sold out to the one. I'm sold out to the one. That's what you need to be. Okay? And so they had all common things, all that they believed. The leaders, everything was one. But interestingly, the people also saying, hey, what I have is also yours. You see? And it started coming in like that. Okay? And so It says, by stretching out, now the multitude of these who believed were one heart, one soul. You see, neither did anyone say the things that they had was their own, but it was common. And now watch this, okay? And this is so cool. Okay, I love this. And with great power, the apostles gave witness to the resurrection of Lord Jesus. And I love this word here. He doesn't say a grace. Does it say grace there? No, it says, and great grace was upon them all. Nor was there anyone among them who? Hello? Okay, this is a story about if you're part of this community and you put both your feet in here, don't waver. No one lacks. No one lacks. Is it there? For all who possesses of lands and houses sold and bought, and the proceeds that were sold. Do you know how many times the people here have sold? Do you know how many times I've sold my rings, my wedding rings, to finance ministry? Three times, 4 times, Fiona? 3 times, 4 times wedding rings sold? How many times? To finance ministry, huh?
The 2 rounds of the rings. And the 3rd time I said I'm keeping it.
Yeah. 3rd time she said she's keeping hers. Yeah. Yeah. Do you know how many watches have been given? Do you know how much gold has been given? The pastors don't know. At one point, I had a 300 pastors meeting at Cinnamon Grand, and at that point of time, I needed to give my pastors phones. So I said, they all must get phones. Okay? Mini iPads, yeah. Mini iPads for them. So everyone is getting mini iPads. But where's the money? I said, bring the gold. We sell the gold. So nicely that they were distributing, they think that these guys, money's falling from heaven. It is. But don't flinch. I don't flinch. Melissa sold her car. Just trying to show you the commitment we have for ministry. We're not interested in money because we are resourceful. We can sell our things. Really. We can sell our things and finance the ministry. No problem. No big deal. Because we love what we do. We know that we are called. We don't second doubt it. Okay? And that's what causes the grace that has come upon the church. Okay? Because if you don't have that type of commitment, if people are not sold out, what's the point of bringing 1,000 people in? I don't want to have a group of hypocrites. I'm not one. I don't want to have a group that I would bring 1,000 people in, and they're all hypocritical. We need to have the solutions. We need to have the sold-out lives. We need for people to buy in. Now, if you're here right now, okay, you need to be able to buy in. You need to be able to understand exactly what the heck I'm doing. Okay? Christianity needs to be preached in a way that young people can understand. Christianity needs to be preached. Jesus needs to get into the hearts of every single man in his nation. But not in a religious way of heaven and hell and condemnation and salvation and all the rubbish that they preach. Jesus needs to get, because Jesus is practical. This stuff is real. This stuff works. It has helped me, it has helped you. And you need to be able to understand why we do what we do in the way we do it. And believe me, the next season is going to be a greater season. And then what did he say? He said, great grace came upon them. Did you see great grace there? Not just grace, great grace. There was a person who's not a part of our religion, but he was listening to me, and he said, Kirby, he met me recently, and he said, Kirby, what you're talking about, I was watching some of your stuff, and he said, what you're talking about is what I call illuminated grace. I loved it. I said, I'll use it. Illuminated grace. He said, it's illuminated grace that has come upon you guys. Not the normal type of grace, not the freedom grace, where everyone is just going out and just doing what the heck they want to do and getting into sin and all that kind of stuff. Not that type of grace. That's not freedom grace. It's an illuminated type of grace. It's a great grace that has come upon them all. Is it there? And a great grace was upon them all, and they were able to minister powerfully. Do you see this? Okay. Now, this is the beginning of the church. This is how these things happened. This is how it went out. This is how they broke out. This is how the world changed, because there were people like this. And believe me, wow, it reminds me of you. Okay, I've seen that myself personally in my life. I've seen a people like this. I've seen a sold-out people. I've seen a people who are unafraid, not scared, who will take the risk. And believe me, there is a massive reward for living life just like that. If you live one day like that, it's fully worth it. And so, let me tell you, again, I'm going to tell you about this thing called grace. There's so many triggers. They say there are triggers to this place called flow, and we'll close with this. And Dream Team, can you come up? Okay? And so you have to be completely immersed in this thing. You have to have goals that are shared. You to have shared risk. Without high consequences, a risk. It's just a hypocrisy. Do you want to live a life with friends, family without risk? Huh? Do you want to be comfortable with people? And everything to be just hunky-dory? Is that what you expect your friends to have with you? They're the first guys who get up and run away because they never risk with you. They never risk with you. You see, there's no point of that. Very important, and I've not got there, and maybe I'll get there when I come, is a changed language. You have to be able to change your language. In this kind of community, our language is different. We don't say no to anything. We are open to listen to everything. We listen very keenly. Why do you think I say, hey, what do you think of this? And you say yes or no. Or you see, what happens when you say yes or no? Today you've been too quiet. Yeah, very quiet. Okay, but when you say yes or no, what happens is you're engaging, and it causes the grace to come upon you. You're not sleeping. You're responding. You see, when you respond, something happens. And that's why I constantly get you to respond and respond. And I said, I like a noisy church. Why? Because the responding of that causes that same grace to come upon you. Yeah? And then, of course, everyone is autonomous. Everyone has individuality. And we respect that. And that keeps the group flowing in this grace. The individuality, the autonomy is absolutely respected. That's something that you do not get in other churches. You cannot be your individual. You have to look like me, or I don't like you. Okay? You have to wear the same jacket, wear the same clothes. Have you seen that? Yeah? They all look the same. You all dress the same. Okay? Here? Huh? Yeah, you'll never have that here. Huh? Then you have to have equal participation. I'm trying to bring you all into equal participation in every single group. If you're in the worship team, you need to be able to be in the worship team with equal participation. Be there for every practice that they have. If you're in the automation team, you are a part of the automation team, and you are given equally to that. If you're a part of, the dream group, you follow the rules of that. There's equal participation in each one. And more than anything, there is absolute transparency and openness from the leaders, top down. Okay? I don't think you can get more transparent like that from the pulpit. Show me some guy, unless he's into sin. I'm transparent, but I'm not in sin. Huh? I'm transparent, but I'm free. Okay? I might talk to you about smoking, drinking, drugs, all kinds of things. But Kirby Dano is not bound by any of those things. You point one thing that I'm addicted to, one situation that I'm having, some problem with my character. Okay? It's okay. You're allowed to be weak. But I also say, when you come to a certain state, it's very hard to be weak. Very hard. So I don't understand men of God who are having, on that level, at top level, having weaknesses. Very, very hard to be weak once you hit a certain level in your life. Okay? And I pray that all of you get there. Come on, Dream Team. Let's get into this.